Good evening. Welcome tonight to the regular meeting of the Temple ISD Board of Trustees on January 13th, 2020, beginning at 6 p.m. First item on our agenda is to declare a quorum, which we do have. The second item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Could everybody please stand and join us? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Our next item 3 is public forum. In Maryland, we don't have anybody signed up tonight. Okay. Fourth item is superintendent recognition. Mrs. Parks, and could the board members please come off the dais and to the front for the recognitions?
Good evening. Temple ISD is proud to join school districts from across the state to celebrate January as School Board Recognition Month. Serving as a link between the community and the classroom, school board members are elected to establish the policies that provide the framework for our public schools. Our school board members are volunteers who shoulder critical responsibilities and often make difficult choices for our district, all without pay. Their goal is always focused on the future success of our children in our district. So, Board of Trustees, on behalf of Temple ISD, we thank you for how much you care about our students and our staff, and for all of the time that you spend supporting our district. We appreciate you, and your efforts are definitely noticed, and we couldn't do what we do without you. So we have several recognitions that have been provided tonight and gifts of appreciation for you. At your dais, you notice that their elementary campuses, again, went in together, and they have a book for you, and they also purchased the same book, and there will be a copy in the libraries in your honor. Our secondary campuses, keeping with the theme, TASB's theme for this, launching the next generation, you saw rocket ships with a Temple T carved in them that our students in CTE made, along with maybe my favorite, which is the chocolate brownie in the shape of the rocket, and there really were only 8. I think everybody still has theirs. So, but that was my favorite treat. And then all 3 of our middle schools also provided something for you that is specific to each of their campuses. And so this is something very, very small we feel like we can do to honor you, but hopefully you feel the gesture and what's intended by the gesture, because we truly do appreciate you. In addition, we do have a gift from the senior leadership team. And so if senior leadership team, if you want to come forward.
So you don't dig in your bags. This is what it is, okay? And it's a block tee and it lights up. So each of you have one of these as well. And I'll just make a few comments. Judging by the attendance that's here, majority administrators, you are well supported. You are well supported, or because you support us well, and obviously you're well supported. It probably doesn't surprise you. I actually posted something on Twitter today, believe it or not. And I tagged Hasby, who's here today. But what I talked about is that this group here, excluding me, represents 7 significant reasons why Temple ISD is doing well. They are truly leaders. They're out supporting our students. They're out supporting our staff, and you know that. They're advocates for public school, public education. They're advocates in the community for our children. They're visible, accessible, and they do a really good job of asking us questions that I feel like the community would. They keep a really good pulse on their individual districts and guide us in those subcommittees, policy, and facilities. So we are very thankful for each of you and what you do and what you bring to the school system, and We just want to honor you, and you can bring them their block tees. And let's give our board a round of applause. We appreciate you. Well, that one's from me to you. So. You know, you're always wondering, well, I have one boss. How is it when you have seven? But I'll tell you, it's wonderful. It just means that much more support. As you can tell, we're a very diverse board. They're very thoughtful, have diverse perspectives, and it really helps move the district forward. So very grateful to each of you, truly am. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ott, and members of the Temple, different Temple campuses. Thank you very much. It's always a great pleasure every year when y'all do this and y'all bring these nice things, the gifts to us. But really, we appreciate what you do for our students in our community. That's really the most important thing. And I personally feel so honored to be up here and to work with a great team that y'all are. I mean, this is an exceptional district. Y'all just blow it out of the water. And thank you very much for everything y'all do. It's a pleasure for us. Is anybody?
Really tough job. I'm glad y'all are doing it now.
Yes.
And we couldn't do it without you. We're a team.
Yes.
And you make us better, and I hope that we help make you better. But without all of us together, we wouldn't be able to move like we're moving.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, thank you very much. Oh, and I need to. Item B is the Texas Thespians Convention Awards.
Well, our students are going to come on out, and they're going to begin shaking hands with our board members while I give a little bit of background. The Texas Thespians is an affiliate chapter of the Educational Theater Association, and it's one of the largest chapters in the nation. Each year, Texas Thespians host a statewide festival, which includes over 8,000 delegates. Representatives from the THS Theater Department attended the festival this year, where they earned numerous accolades, including the coveted Outstanding Troop designation, which was given to only 6 troops in the state of Texas. In addition to the Outstanding Troop designation, we had 2 other entries that received state honors. Mask making earned 2nd place in state, and that team was comprised of Kylie Burke, Olivia Cabrera, Chelsea Sider, and Morgan Matson. We also had a technical entry for makeup, Olivia Cabrera. She earned a perfect score and was one of 3 honored at the closing ceremonies. And then the following entries earned superior ratings, which are really the highest ranking that you can have, rating you can receive at this festival. Group musical, Terry Austin, Liam Bro, Corinne Eckenrode, Jonathan Equals, Cameron Hooper, Erica Lynch, Austin Madsen, Genevieve Myers, Macy Parks, Ali Quiros, Michael Rodriguez, Shane Godfrey, and Mamantia Shrestha. All were part of that group musical. Set design, Morgan Madsen. Marketing, Kylie Burke. Sound was Michael Jones. Lighting, Ricardo Fontanez. And film was Daniel Salazar. So again, you are looking at one of 6 outstanding troops in the state of Texas, and we are truly so very proud of all that you've accomplished. Congratulations. And hang on one second, make sure we get the picture we need, so hold on. Thank y'all so much for being here. Thank you and congratulations. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Natasha. Appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. I know, I'm sorry, she's sick. She'll be as good tomorrow. We hope, yes, yes, thank you.
Items Item C is the 2019 TISD Leadership Cohort Recognition.
And I will let Mr. Palmer start us off for the recognition. Yeah, just right here.
Each year about this time of year, actually in January, the principals and some assistant soups and department directors nominate individuals to go through what we call the TISD Leadership Cohort. And basically that's made up of those individuals that show particular leadership ability on the campuses that we feel like may step into the next level spot. It can be teachers, it can be instructional coaches, it can be assistant principals. We've even had directors go through it in the past, but with the concept of being able to see what all the different departments do. And then also there's some one session that's on leadership, particularly in the public schools. So this was an exceptional group. I know almost every year I say that, but it's been very interesting in my time here that each year it seems to have, well, let's see, if I say that the wrong way, then somebody sitting in here in an old one's going to think, but this was a very good group. And as good as any group we've ever had.
There we go.
There you go.
There we go.
So we want to recognize them tonight, and I have a certificate for you to take, and then if you'll shake the board members' hands, and I'm going to let Ms. Parks read these out, where we can kind of roll them off pretty quickly here, and you'll come forward.
All right. We have Beverly Altabatabi. That's close. That's close. All right. Audrey Burks. Ashley Carroll. Alyssa Connor.
Good job.
Mandy Curley. Jennifer Davis.
There she is.
Ryan Fruget.
Ryan is actually job shadowing tonight in Leander. What? But there was an AP down there he wanted to job shadow, so he's in Leander tonight.
Alicia. Is Alicia here?
Did I give it to Angela's here? Yeah, no,
Alicia's not here?
no.
Angela Pearson. Rylan Seymour. There you are.
Good job. Appreciate you.
Jessica Smith. Amanda Sestida. Amy Vahue. Jessica Wolf. And Virginia Yarborough.
I'm glad you're still here. Would y'all come in front of the board over here?
Yes.
Slide over and just maybe step in front, then we'll have the board slide up behind you. Will that work? Yeah, better step up and maybe.
And then they'll just kind of come back behind you and get in the window. Perfect.
Find someone shorter.
Keep her right
Y'all are
here
good.
when we're
Y'all are good. Y'all are perfect.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Looks good.
Congratulations.
Item D is the check presentation from the Texas Association of School Boards Buy Board Program.
Yes, and if we can have Adrian Porras come forward from Tasney Business Services, we will let him do the presentation.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adrian Porras, and I am with the Texas Association of School Boards with the Business Services and the Buy Board. Each year, the Buy Board helps school districts throughout the state save time and money, making the procurement process simple. In addition, as a nonprofit organization, TASB and the Buy Board are able to offer a rebate to its users. This year, the Buy Board rebate to its members was $9.1 million. Temple ISD has been a great friend of TASB and a user of the Buy Board. And because of the great work of the administration, Temple ISD has earned a sizable rebate this year. So it is my pleasure to present this nice big golf check to the Temple ISD Board for the amount of $57,000 and $57,050. So. Thank you very much. Can you send it over here? Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. While Christian's taking pictures, I'll just mention the BI Board is a great partner for us, for not just Temple ISD, but for all public schools. They provide a service which allows us to purchase items in large amounts that we would normally have to go through a bid process for. What BI Board does is they work under the governmental rules for bidding. They bid items and vendors, and they vet those vendors. And then what that does is that allows us as districts to purchase through and under their umbrella in a way that saves us having to do a lot of those things and a lot of redundancies. So we appreciate what they do. This is sizable because a lot of the things that we've purchased for CTE and for this facility were in this past, were part of this rebate. Also, one last note, because of what BI Board does, they're able to include local vendors. And so many of our local vendors that we're able to purchase through Perry's, Indico, others, that's gone under the BI Board. So it serves those vendors, it serves us. It's really a win-win. So I appreciate what they do for all public schools.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here, Agent. You got it. Okay.
Item 5 is the executive hires. Mr. Palmer, I don't believe we have any items tonight. Okay. Item 6 is the board president's report. A, consideration for approval of superintendent's yearly appraisal. Members, you'll have before you the copy of the appraisal. This is the appraisal that was emailed to you last week for your approval. It's the compilation of our comments that we did back in December. I compiled them during Christmas time, put them into this document, and I had a meeting with Dr. Ott late last week, and we went over the review. And in fact, I will read this report into the record right now, then we can discuss. December 2018 to December 2019, Temple ISD Superintendent Appraisal, January 13, 2020. The Temple ISD Board of Trustees Superintendent Appraisal of Dr. Bobby Ott is based on a one-year time frame from the last appraisal, from December 2018 through December 2019. The format for this review is an overview provided by Dr. Ott to the board members. The items are categorized by 5 domains: board and community relations, district management, student achievement, human resources, and district communications. Each board member completed a grading process of each domain using the 1 to 5 scale, including their comments and perspective. So I'll list the domains now and then comments made by the different board members under each domain. Domain 1, community and community relations. Their average rating was 4.2. We have many meaningful relationships in the community and beyond. This builds trust and lasting relationships. Dr. Ott absolutely exceeded expectations in this area. He is constantly expending energy, fostering established community relationships, digging deeper into how those relationships can be mutually beneficial, and exploring new opportunities, big and small, for the district. The new Temple College Board and TISD Board combined planning meeting was an extremely high priority on my list this year. Looking forward to continuing this partnership. Since Dr. Ott has been superintendent of TISD, he He has been very focused on developing and establishing positive relationships, not only with students and staff, but with parents, community leaders, the business community, city and state governments, and other school boards. Domain 2 is district management, and the average rating was 4.39. Dr. Ott and TISD finance team have done an excellent job in keeping district finances in healthy shape while maximizing these funds for student programs, teacher pay, and facility construction, renovation, and school expansion. HB 3 was a big win for TISD due to the guidance and leadership from Dr. Ott on down as to how best to utilize our resources. So many strides made for the betterment of our school district and staff. Planning for growth of TISD has been on the top of that list. Dr. Ott has secured the property, worked with staff, builders, and developers to grow the southeast quadrant. This planning was done proactively as a result of demographic studies. Dr. Ott cares about the staff, and it was evident from the way revenues from HB 3 were allocated. Domain 3, student achievement. The average rating was 4.17. I'm extremely proud of our B rating, a concerted effort to meet the highest safety standards through innovative training and our proactive approach to mental health and wellness. The district showed strong improvements in the areas of discipline, safety, and mental health of our students. All of the hard work has paid off. Now to maintain and continue to get better. Great new ways to recognize student accomplishments. This is the topmost priority of the TISD board and Dr. Ott. Student achievement is the motivating factor in every program implemented in this district. Dr. Ott sees it as his duty to make sure all stakeholders share the sense of urgency regarding student learning. In the last year, Dr. Ott developed many programs to keep students' morale high and make them feel appreciated. Some of these include Student Scholars Award Ceremony, first ever Fine Arts Signing, first ever Rejuvenate program for IB students. Domain 4 is Human Resources. The average rating here is 4.5. Under Dr. Ott's leadership, TISD provided the largest compensation package to every district employee. This strategic move will allow us to secure and retain the best teachers and staff for TISD. The New Teacher Academy is another innovative program developed to support new teachers. The efforts of improving teacher retention are showing. This year, the teacher retention improved by 7%. Diversity has improved some key hires and promotion to key leadership positions. I only see this improving under the leadership of Dr. Ott. We still have work in this area. TISD has made great hires for leadership positions this year, great strides to get better. HR department has advanced our district in major ways this year. The new compensation package was tweaked until every single employee saw a salary increase. This conveys respect and gratitude to everyone who works for our students and should help us with both recruitment and retention. Due to Dr. Ott and his team's strategic appropriation of the funds allocated from HB 3, everyone in the district was not only surprised but elated. Domain 5, district communication. The average rating here is 4.39. Best I've seen from this department in years. Keeping this level of communication internally and externally is mandatory to keep changing community perception of TISD. Dr. Ott is very visible throughout the district. He is constantly visiting all campuses and ISD functions. He is a very familiar face. Implementation of TISD's social media presence has added an element of positive culture. Previously, we lacked a plan for telling our positive stories. I get a lot of good positive feedback from parents and the community. I feel the community and parents are pleased with the communication our district provides. Marketing efforts this year were fantastic and went a long way towards portraying an accurate picture of our district's strengths and successes. Parents, students, and the community have seen the benefits of improved communications through social media, the district website, and publications in the Temple Daily Telegram. The superintendent's contract. and past annual superintendent review. At the completion of the review, it will be recommended by the TISD Board of Trustees to extend Dr. Ott's contract. And this document was signed by myself and Dr. Ott. At this time, is there any further discussion on the evaluation? If not, this does require a motion to extend it, to accept the valuation.
I move to approve.
Moved by Ms. Gowan,
Second that motion.
seconded by Mr. Gaines. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. Item is approved.
I'll go ahead and make a few comments. That's one of the most uncomfortable things that I've ever sat through. I'm just going to be very honest with everyone. Public evaluation is pretty uncomfortable, but it's the right thing for the community to do it and to do it publicly. I feel like it is the right thing. A couple comments I would make is, one, piggybacks on what was said earlier, but I personally am truly grateful to whom I work for, and that's the 7 you see up here. They're a fantastic group. I believe that I have a relationship with each of them individually, not just collectively. And that's something that, you work over time. But I am very grateful for the individual relationships and the collective one. I am absolutely grateful for who I work with. I have an incredible team, and everything on there. I think the most uncomfortable thing for me is when it says under Dr. Ott's whatever, right? Because the truth is, it's the administration, the staff, it's everyone, and a lot of the ideas come from the folks sitting there, Marilyn, Christine, Joe, Eric, Lisa, and our principals, directors. We have fantastic administrators. So I'm able to do some things, and I know this, that a lot of superintendents aren't able to do because I have a great team. I'm able to be at a lot of events. I'm able to be a cheerleader of sorts, an ambassador, an advocate. And that's because there are folks that have bright ideas, they're innovative, and they work really hard for our students and make sure that the logistics and the important matters of running an organization are in line. And lastly, I'm most grateful for those I serve, and that's the students and community. We truly have special students in Temple. I mean that. I love every one of them. They're fantastic. They're all gifted, and we have a great supportive community. So I'm very blessed to be in this position. I thank the board for the evaluation. Thank you.
Dr. Ott, again, we appreciate your service and everything you do for the district and the community and the students. Thank you. Item B is the first day to file for the school board election, which is Wednesday, January 15th, 2020, 8 a.m. Last day to file for the school board election is Friday, February 14th, 2020, at 5 p.m. District 2 and District 7 are up for election this year. A copy of board policy, BBA legal, is included listing the eligibility qualifications for running for a board or trustee position. Okay. Item C is future items of discussion. Dr. Ott. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any items that the board?
Have any
Yeah. Deferring to you. Is there any items that the board wish to include for a future agenda? Seeing none, thank you. Item D, important dates. Now, Dr. Ott. Yeah.
So I will start with yesterday. Yesterday was the Leadership Care Network's community prayer service, and some of you attended that, and I think it was fantastic. My mother actually attended with me, and she enjoyed interacting with a lot of people and meeting folks. Mr. Hogberg saw you there, and Dan Posey, and some others, but great opportunity for community leaders to get together and just pray over the community and school district and city, you name it. So I just think, we need to be reminded at times we're blessed to be in a community that believes in the power of prayer, and that was very obvious yesterday. Tomorrow, we have Leadership Temple here. It's the Education Day, and they'll be hearing a presentation from me. in the afternoon, and I think we have events planned all through the day. Christine really organizes that for the Leadership Temple group, and I think Christian is actually part of it as well as a participating member. January 20th, as many of you know, is Student Staff Holiday. It's MLK Day, and we actually have that same day, we have the NAACP annual MLK March and program. That's at 3 p.m. at New Day Fellowship Church. At least that's where they start the program or the march, and I'd encourage you to be there if you can. It's a great opportunity for community members to gather and march for a great cause.
They start at the church or they start at the?
They start at New.
At one church and go to.
Right. They used to start at the, well, they have in the past started the police station, but this year they're starting at New Day Fellowship. That's a good question.
I just want to say, last year, I know that Dr. Ott, myself, Virginia was there, Christian, other board members. You know, if you can participate, I highly encourage it. It was very worthwhile. It's a good program, a good service.
You want to pass that down to Shannon for me? Thank you. One of the, and I've said this in the Bell County Area Soups meeting, and then actually in our assistant superintendent's meeting, there are three, I think, large pieces that school districts are managing at this time, and one is the addition of 3 goals that are to be added to school board's goals, and that's something we'll work through later in the spring. It's due by beginning of June. The second is the whole Reading Academy piece, and Lisa will do a presentation. We actually introduced a plan to the Bell County Area Superintendents, Lisa did, at the last meeting. And the third are additional training requirements for board members. And those are things like human trafficking, and then the big one is the cybersecurity. We are blessed to have Mark Civic, and he's actually here, our Chief Technology Officer. The first one is actually January 15th, I believe. We're doing 2 sessions to account for your schedules, and we're going to do senior leadership team and board, and then the next one, which is on here, so the January 15th isn't on this important dates, but the next one that is actually January 22nd, and that's listed there at the bottom. I think many of you are signed up to go to that. If we have a quorum, we post it. And I think we're going to have a quorum for that one. So Mark's going to take us through it, and feel free to ask him any questions along the way. Like I said, we're lucky that he was able to work modules and get things done and condensed in a way to where we can learn, but it's not too laborious, I guess. Wildcat Mentor mid-year event at Spare Time. Several of you are Wildcat Mentors. That's on January 23rd from 11:30 to 1:30. Our college series at Temple High School is also the same day. It's at 5 p.m. at Temple High School Library, and those topics will be the application process, visiting college campuses, and then the SAT. We have a midwinter conference. That's TASA, Texas Association of School Administrators, January 26th through 29th. We're actually presenting at the conference, and the presenters will be Lisa, Renata, and myself. Am I missing anybody? And it's basically, it's over blended learning and the steps that we took to garner support, to get the board involved, to get administration, teachers, and it's the whole implementation design piece. And we're actually going to set it up like a blended learning training, so that'll be unique in many ways. So we're excited. It's another way to feature the school district statewide, so we're really excited about that. January 28th is the 2020 Salute to Business Banquet. We will have Governor Abbott. The Chamber has managed to secure him as a speaker for that event. It's at the Mayborn Center from 5:45 to 9. I think Marilyn has sent something out to all the board members, and so, you know, if we can get a table together for us, that would be great. I know some of you are probably going to be attending with your respective employers, but for those that aren't, you know, we can join together in that event. The 29th through January 29th through 31st, we have the 8th grade career days. That's when we bring the 8th grade students over to Temple High School and have them circulate through the CTE and the businesses that we have that are willing to come. And I believe a separate, more detailed schedule has been sent to you already. Is that right, Marilyn? That has all, you know, when each middle school's going, when Bonham's going, when Travis is going, when Lamar's going, and what their schedules are. The 29th, we have the School Board Policy Committee at 4, and the Facilities Committee the day after. Does yours say that?
Yeah, I said, both of them say 29.
Yeah, they both say yeah, that one's the 30th, okay. Just like always, right, the Policy Committee's the day before the facilities, so we'll send a correction. I think the calendars are right electronically on that. And then January 31st, the Central Texas Workforce Board, I may have shared this with you, but I'm the superintendent representative for all Central Texas schools. I think there's 80-something districts, and I'm actually doing the presentation. They're coming over here to the admin building that day, and I'll be presenting over our 2025 plan. So I'm real excited about that opportunity to bring them over. And just as a side note, I don't know the exact day, but the commissioner of the Texas workforce, the commissioner for the state, is actually scheduled to come to tour our CTE building. So we're real excited about that. When is it? February 3rd, okay. And so that was just scheduled today, I believe, or yesterday. So excited, once again, an opportunity to feature TISD, THS, CTE across the state. And that's all I have, Dan. And then one last thing, you have an addendum that has our fine arts, performing arts events listed there from the 24th to February 8th on the next page.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hott. Item 7 is consent items. Consideration for approval of the following group of items. Approve consent agenda items 7A through E1. What is the pleasure of the board to hear these individually or all together?
I move to approve all the items together.
Motion by Ms. Gowan,
I'll second.
seconded by Ms. Myers, Mrs. Myers. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. Item 8 is the action items. Item 8A is Human Resources. Mr. Palmer, consideration for approval of 2020 and 2021 Temple ISD calendar. Mr. Palmer.
I think each one of you have a copy in the book as well as a printed copy to take a look at. For the most part, the calendar, except for moving things up because there's a day missing because leap year doesn't happen again, and next year's calendar, and the fact that that the calendar always moves up a year, most everything on here is at the same time as this year's calendar. One thing that I would bring to your attention for those making plans, spring break is back a week. Actually, this divides our spring semester much better than it was when it was a week earlier, but we follow the same time as Texas A&M does because basically the largest district in Bell County, and we try to keep all of our calendars similar. And A&M and UT, I do believe, would probably be that same week as well because they usually all follow suit. So the 15th through the 19th will be spring break. Same time for winter break, fall break, of course. And outside of that, like I say, it's pretty much the same calendar as the past year. I will add to this that Dr. Mueller called me from Belton just the other day and wanted to know kind of our calendar. We compared notes, and basically the Belton calendar and the Temple calendar are identical. With exception, I think they may have 2 more days that the kids go that we allow our teachers time off to work on grades and stuff like that. So it's always helpful to our parents to understand between us and Belton, so that was good to know. But outside of that, like I say, it's pretty much this year's calendar.
I would just add, excuse me, I'd just add one thing. If you look at the October 26th date on the calendar, that's something new for us. We're doing a wellness day for our staff, and we'll have speakers in, and Amy Hayes is in the Wellness Committee is working on how that'll be structured, but we think that's very important to do that for our staff. So that's there, and it's not an entire day. I think it's 2 or 3 hours maybe.
It'll be the morning, and actually, it's with the Gear Up group that we're joining together to do that, because the Gear Up program will be housed at the high school next year for the most part. So for the expense part of it and bringing someone in as far as a motivational speaker and that sort of thing, they were very excited to have an opportunity to do that. So it worked very well with our wellness plans and our wellness program.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Palmer? This is an action item. Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Gaines,
I'll second it.
seconded by Dr. Sanhi. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. The motion is approved. Yeah. Item B, curriculum instruction. B1, presentation of the 2018-2019 district annual report. Dr. Adams. Thank you.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Ott. So I am here to provide our annual report. This is a requirement of TEA, and so we'll be providing you some of this information that you've seen before. You will have seen before because we provided it to you at different opportunities, but this is just a summation of that, and so keep in mind this is information from the 2018-19 school year, okay? Oh, I don't know what I did. Okay, so this is an overview of what we'll be reviewing, and so we'll begin with our Texas Academic Performance Report, our TAPAR report that was just released by the agency, and so we'll look at that academic data. I'll share with you the post-secondary performance of our students and talk through that. The financial report has been shared with you. It was shared with you in the November board meeting, but I will review that as well. Our campus performance objectives were again shared with you in August. When we went through our board goals and performance objectives, and then we'll share the report on violent crimes. And so we'll go through that and ask questions along the way, please. And so this is our TAPAR summary, and so these are the assessments, and this is the assessment data that I shared with you in August, but it's officially now been released by the state. As you can see, in the area of math and reading, we increased in 8 of our 13 areas, and we're very proud of our 6th grade math and 5th and 6th grade reading, as they showed the largest area of growth this year, and that was our areas of focus last year at our campuses. We were specifically targeting those grade levels. So great to see that progress. And we continue. Algebra 1 showed no change. It's the same score as it was last year, but it's in a high area. And so we'll continue to work at with our goals and improvement strategies that we have in place. We've continued to strive to make progress in these areas. And then in the area of English language arts and the writing in our high school EOCs, as well as social studies and science, we increased 7 of the 9 assessments. And just want you to note that the EOC scores are inclusive of the summer, spring, and fall retest. So that's an inclusive score throughout the year there. And so we've continued to see nice increases, and so we'll just continue to work as we do with our strategies, and we have been very, very pleased to see the growth that our students have made over the course of this year. Also, additionally, our TAPAR shows us our attendance rate, our graduation rate, and our dropout rate, and you can see there's been a slight decrease, less than 1% in those areas. We have very strong plans in place for helping our students be at school and to graduate on time and to ensure that our students do graduate and do not become dropouts. And so we just continue to refine those processes and work on those, but that's a very strength of us in Temple. We ensure our students graduate. Then this report is the students' performance in post-secondary institutions, and this is something that just really comes to you through the district annual report. Keep in mind that this is not what I would say a true valid measure of our students' post-secondary performance, because this this is generated by the state of Texas, so we typically, unless they self-report, we don't get information from out-of-state colleges. We don't get information from private institutions, and not all of our state colleges are required. It's more of a voluntary basis. I will tell you from last year to this year that we did see an increase in the number of students who reported enrolling in a four-year university, and that's good because I know that's part of our goal with Temple College, to increase the number of students who obtain college credit. And we did see an increase in our GPA in the area of the 2.0 through 3.49. So all of the students had a better GPA their first semester in college as well, so that's great. But again, I'll draw you to that number at the bottom, not found. There were 235 graduates that were not found, and that doesn't mean that they didn't enroll in college. It just means that they weren't reported. That they couldn't find them in the system. And so that's why I struggle with this being a valid measure of our students' post-secondary success. Not to mention, there's no mention of career or military enrollment as well. Additionally, we need to report to you our district of our PEIMS financial standard report, and you will remember from November that Callan and her team came and shared that, and we had no material weaknesses in our financial report. They do a great job. Kent and his team do a great job in ensuring that we are transparent and take care of our money well. And our accreditation status is connected to that first rating, and so we are considered an accredited school district with a superior rating, and that comes from Callan's team as well, and they do a wonderful job. And so that's really all I'm going to share about that, because you've already seen an extensive report in that. Then we also include in our district annual report our performance objectives. Remember, we have 3 goals: ABA, academics, behavior, and attendance. And so you have seen these before. We talked through these in the summer, but we have 6 objectives under academic achievement. We have 4 under behavior and 3 under attendance, and we monitor our progress on that throughout the year. And you've seen reports from that from the last year. Lastly, we have our report on violent and criminal incidents, and this first chart shows you the elementary schools. We had not one incident in our elementary schools for the last academic school year. And this is our secondary campuses, and we had 1 incident at our high school, and so we had 1 secondary. But I will tell you that's a decrease from last year, and so we've seen an improvement of that. And this is really Eric's department, but in thinking about why we see that improvement there, it's really because of we continue to improve our anonymous reporting processes. Remember that Eric rolled these buttons out. You'll remember these from probably a board retreat, where we have opportunities for our students to report things that they're concerned about being safe or bullying. And so the incident that I mentioned that was reported this last year was minimized in minutes, really, at the high school, and that was due to our students self-reporting. They really care about the safety of themselves and others, and this has been a great initiative that Eric's department has rolled out and has helped our campuses be really safe and supported. And so that concludes our district annual report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer, or call on one of my colleagues to answer, because I am nominated to report for the whole district. So I can put one of them on the spot if you need me to.
Any questions for Dr. Adams? Item B, this does require a public hearing for the 2018-2019 district annual report. I am now opening the public hearing. Anybody that wishes to come up forward and comment about the report, please do so. Seeing no one, I close the hearing. Item 3 is consideration for approval of the district's 2018-2019 annual report.
I'll make the motion to approve the District 2018-2019 annual report.
Motion by Dr. Sanhi,
Second the motion.
seconded by Mrs. Davis. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you. Item 8C is the finance facilities. 1, consideration for approval of a guaranteed maximum price, GMP, for the Meredith Dunbar renovation project. Mr. Boyd.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Posey. School Board, I'm pleased to be able to bring this to you tonight for your consideration. We discussed this at the Facilities Committee the other day, and you all were present, and you've heard that and seen that information, but I'd like to present that again tonight in abbreviated format for our public. I'll talk about a few things before we get into the presentation on the slides, but for bids for this project were received on December 10th, 2019 for renovations to Meredith Dunbar Early Childhood Academy. After that, the representatives with American Constructors, Stantec, and our TISD administrative staff met to fine-tune the budget, and so that's what we bring to you tonight. I might also mention I appreciate Craig Eilers with American Constructors being present tonight, and as always, when I'm finished, I'll take easy questions, and anything difficult, I'll pass on to Craig. American has compiled the bids and prepared a summary of the project and some cost reductions derived through value engineering and scope adjustments. All of that information is included for your review. So what I'd like to show you are a few pictures of what this looks like. And of course, as you know, Meredith Dunbar is a historical campus, has historical significance to our community. And so we're excited to be able to bring you this renovation project. First of all, just the site plan shows overall what things will look like. And just gives us a site plan and not a lot of detail on that one. Okay, here's a look at the facility. You see the areas that are in gray are areas that will receive, that received renovations on the last bond. So we started renovations at Meredith Dunbar, like on several campuses, with the last bond, knowing we wouldn't take care of everything, but we got quite a few things done. What we plan to do with this bond is complete what we started. So the looks up at the top, those are pictures of existing conditions. And like I said, you get an idea of what was touched on the last bond. Everything not in gray or that light blue is what will be addressed this time, and some of the areas in blue also. Okay, this is simply another look at that and some of the things. I won't go into detail on that one. Okay, there you see the restroom picture up there. The facility, being the age that it is, has a lot of pieces to it that are in need of not just renovation from an aesthetic standpoint, but renovation from an infrastructure standpoint. And when I say that, I mean plumbing, air conditioning, major electrical, major plumbing, restrooms, ADA enhancements, and this is an example of that. The restrooms at Meredith Dunbar are not ADA compliant. They have not been. We will address that, and they will all be by the time that we finish this. And you won't see some of the, you won't see setups like that where we've had to manually put in some risers for little kids. I might also mention, as you're aware, Meredith Dunbar was built as a high school. It served older students, and then even after that, it served elementary students. And there's a big difference in the size of those from the little kids that we have over there today. So the youngsters will benefit, and the building will be much more catered to them and to their size. Here's a couple of looks here. We've got two of the renderings. Now, the outside of the building will not be changed very much, but the inside is where you will see the renovations. And so what we have is a typical hallway, and what's going to happen is similar to what we've done on other buildings that have received major renovations, Scott, Western Hills, Travis Lamar, Bonham. And so what that means is we'll have new doors, new finishings, new floors, ceiling, lights, wall laminate. Everything will be new and fresh, in addition to the improvements, the ADA improvements and the life safety improvements that I'll mention too here in a minute. Those are all going to be new finishes that you will see throughout the building once we're complete. The next picture shows you what the dining room will look like. The kitchen has received very little improvement through the years. It also is still not an air-conditioned facility, which is hard to believe. It will be, obviously, that entire kitchen and dining hall area will be gutted and renovated, and this is a look of what it'll look like. We're going to add colors some things that are fun for little kids, some things that are educational also for little kids with some ways that they'll do that design. So we had one of the ladies with Stantec that was specializes in design of pre-K schools and pre-K facilities is who helped us and really who designed this. So you're going to see some really nice improvements on that. Now, one other important infrastructure improvement that was a significant part of the budget was life safety enhancements. And what we really mean by that is we have included a fire road, a fire exit and fire road loop around for trucks that's required and that's necessary. We also have a fire sprinkler and suppression system that will be installed, fire alarm system that will be installed, brand new PA system that will be installed, and then a secured entry at the front of the building. So a lot is going into infrastructure, a lot is going into safety and security, a lot is going into ADA enhancements. The steps that have been in the front wing of the building, if you're familiar, that's been an ADA problem for years. We will be able to solve that by putting in a ramp system. So the improvements that will happen at Meredith will be extremely meaningful, not only aesthetically and not only for the students and for their enjoyment, for the staff, but it will obviously make some major infrastructure and life safety improvements that have been needed for a while. So we're pleased to be able to do that. So tonight we bring to you a total GMP, or guaranteed maximum price, for construction of $7,296,586. This project will be the last major construction project or renovation project of the 2015 bond funds. If approved tonight, work on some of the preliminary work will begin in March 2020. The project will be completed in August of 2021. So students will be in temporary facilities for the school year next year. We've already begun coordinating that with the principal, and then we'll be able to move them back into effectively a brand newly refurbished facility for the fall of 2021. As always, this GMP that we bring to you tonight has contingency money, which if not expended will return to the district and be used for other projects. And in addition, any other savings generated throughout the project will be returned to the district as well. That's a brief, somewhat brief summary. Do you all have any questions about the process or the project or anything else that I can answer for you tonight or that Craig could answer?
I'm assuming this is probably the largest investment in the Meredith Dunbar facility since it was constructed back in the late 40s.
To the best of our knowledge, that is
yeah.
correct. I can't imagine anything else that would rival this.
Which
You are correct.
to me says that it's the district and community's commitment to this facility.
Yes, sir. And actually, it's a $9 million commitment.
Altogether.
The GMP is the construction portion, but when you include architectural fees, all of the asbestos work that has to be done ahead of time, some of the other fees, some of the accommodations for the students for the next year, all of that is part of that. So yes, a $9 million investment into that facility is larger than anything I can imagine has happened since it was constructed.
So basically for a brand-new facility when it's all finished.
It will look and feel in many
Right.
ways like that. Yes, sir.
Right.
And that's our intent. And I appreciate, I always like to appreciate what Ken brings to the table in these planning meetings and what Craig and his team do when it comes to construction, because they're the ones that help us identify the things that stretch the dollar as far as we can go. And always, on any of these projects, if we can squeeze a little more out when we get into the project, we try to do that and try to carry it as far as we can. So we'll look to continue to do that on this project too.
Members, any questions on this project? It does require a motion.
Move for approval.
Motion by Ms. Suarez,
Second the motion.
seconded by Mrs. Davis. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Appreciate your support.
Item D, Student Services, consideration, D1, consideration for approval of an amendment to the Student Code of Conduct. Mr. Hockenberg.
Yes. Tonight, we come to you to present a proposed amendment to the Student Code of Conduct. As you know, the Student Code of Conduct is approved by the board every year and thus serves as local policy. So any change or additional language to the code must be considered and approved by the board. Additional language tonight is not a change in policy, but is a clarification or a point of emphasis that the district and campus administration would like to include in the Code of Conduct so that our expectations are clear to all stakeholders, students, parents, the community, and the staff, that all school district campuses and property are to be drug-free. There is an inherent confusion when one looks at legal penal code definitions and school district policies. So for clarification, we recommend adding this language under the discretionary DAEP placement section presented to you in your meeting materials that says to include sells, gives, or delivers to another person or possesses less than a usable number of stems, seeds, or other pieces of marijuana. If approved, the language would be added to the Code of Conduct and posted on the website this week. Again, this isn't a change in local policy. This is a clarification and an emphasis of our expectations of consequences for our students and parents. The district administration submits this amendment for the board's consideration and recommends its approval.
Thank you. Any questions? It does require an approval.
I move.
Motion by Mrs. Davis,
I'll second.
seconded by Dr. Sanhi. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. It is approved. Thank you. Item E is board committee reports. E1, Facilities Committee update. No meeting was held 2019. Mr. Gaines.
No meeting was held. Well, next meeting will be held January 30th, 2020.
Okay, thank you. Item 2 is the Policy Committee update. The meeting was held December 18, 2019 at 4 p.m. Mrs. Davis.
The meeting was called to order at 4:04 p.m. No one addressed the Board of Trustees during the public forum section of the meeting. A recommendation of additional language to the discretionary DAEP placement section in the Student Code of Conduct was presented. Dr. Ott stated that they wanted, wanted to clarify the wording in the Code of Conduct and would like to take it to the board for approval at the next board meeting. This amendment was presented earlier during the board meeting, this board meeting. Committee was given a copy of the Update 114 materials as well as the summary of changes. The summary of changes were reviewed and several policy changes, were highlighted. Update 114 will be presented later during this board meeting. The meeting adjourned at 4:55 p.m. Our next meeting will be January 29th, 4 p.m.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Davis. Item B is consideration for approval, a TASB Policy Update 114. Mr. Hockenberg.
Update 114, this is the next wave of updates to address the changes from the 86th legislative session. As usual, the majority of these policy changes in the TASB update are legal policies and do not require board action. There is a summary of changes document in your packet, as well as the red line version of both the legal and local policy recommendations. We have reviewed each legal policy and presented that to the Policy Committee at our last meeting. And even though it doesn't require board approval, we did want to highlight a few of them that would be of particular interest to the board. BAA legal policy. This is where as was mentioned earlier, the cybersecurity policy, some of the proficiency plans, as well as the requirement for an audit before a bond election. This is where that is now housed. BBA, that is the policy where makes accommodations for a continuous residency in the case of a national disaster, so that if a disaster occurs and you had to move out of your district for a temporary amount of time, then you're still counted as being a resident in your district when those disasters do occur. On the next page, BBD legal. This is, as Dr. Ott had mentioned, this is where it's housed. The board members must complete an hour of training every 2 years on sexual abuse and human trafficking. Policy BBI, this states that if public information on your private devices are used for meeting purposes, you are required to forward those documents or those emails to the district so that they can retain them according to the legal retention policy. BED legal, this is where the updates to board meetings are required, and we'll go more in depth on those when we talk about the legal policies. CK legal. This is where we have talked about the school safety committee, and this is where it talks about the memberships and the meetings that are required for that. CKE legal, when we talked about the student code of conduct initially, we had talked about SROs, and now it's formalized in law that they're not, their duties for routine discipline or for routine administrative campus activities, they're supposed to concentrate on the legal pieces, and so this is the policy where that is housed. DC legal, this is the do not hire registry, where that's located. DEA legal, this is where it states that when the basic allotment increases, now compensation has to increase. This is part of the Senate bill that passed in the compensation pieces. DNA legal. This is part of teacher appraisals. It is now in law that you can't assign a deficiency if based solely on the number of referrals that they write to the administrative office. EIF legal, this extends the graduation committees to 2023. This is where you can have a portfolio part of graduation requirements, and that we've been under those for the last several years. It extends what we're currently doing to the year 2023. FOB legal, this is where it prohibits homeless students from being suspended. And FOC legal, this has a DAEP requirement for students. One of the offenses is harassment against an employee. And that is a highlight of the legal policies. Any questions on those?
Any questions?
Now, the TASB local policy recommendations, and these do require board consideration and approval. Those are in your packet, the summary of local changes for local. So the first one is BE, and this adjusts the deadline for submitting agenda items. We extended that based on our practice with our policy meetings being on Tuesday and Wednesday. The old days ended on a weekend, And so we added a few days to those so that these deadlines are 7 days prior to the meeting, so that those occur during the week, and it just helps avoid some of the confusion. And it also coincides with posting requirements of 72 hours before the meeting. And so that's DE. DEB, or DBED. This talks about the board meetings and how some of the changes that are significant. It deletes the overall time limit of public comment. The old policy had a maximum number of time for that whole section of the meeting. Now that has been removed. It also deletes the required representative for a delegation, so that if a group comes, in the old policy, if a group came and it was the same issue, they got a spokesman and presented that to it. Well, now every individual is given the opportunity to address the board. Public comment section is now required at all meetings, so the special meetings, the committee meetings, there is a public comment section in front of all those meetings. And it allows for adjustments to be made in order to make it more efficient. The way our policy is being set up is that each individual has 3 minutes, and if you need an interpreter, you're allowed double that for your time to present to the board. If for some reason there's a lot of interest in speaking to the board, and in order to be efficient, it can make a decision to reduce the time a person is allowed to speak by 1 minute. And there's other various ways to make the meeting more efficient that way. CDA talks about, investment, and this allows bond proceeds to be invested as we do other revenues. CH, local, it requires now purchasing guidelines for that coincide with state and federal law. This is new, that now we have to have these procedures in place or written down. CKC local, this is where it includes in the emergency operations plan. We now have to have a section for active shooters, and also show that substitutes are also trained on the various emergency procedures that a campus may have. In your material, this one was omitted, CKE local. It was in your main pieces, but just not on the summary page. And this again talks about, this is the local policy about the SROs and their duties as not having routine classroom duties. CQ and CQB, these are in tandem. There is a section on security breach, goes from one, policies removed from one, and then it's added by itself in another one. So these two are in combination, CQ and CQB. DFFA, this policy talks about reduction in force, and these changes eliminate the furlough sections of that policy. DH local, that is part of the employee standards, and if you remember from a couple years ago, that if a district employee has a handgun license and they have their firearm and it's locked in their vehicle and it's not in plain sight, and it used to say not loaded, well, now they took away the not loaded section of that policy. So it still has to be, still have to have a license, still has to be locked, and it still has to be out of sight. EHBB talks about GT screening, and it just allows us to a little more flexibility in using other districts' testing when they came, so it can speed up our process for identifying GT students. FDE, it updates the list of violent criminal offenses as far as the transfer policy is concerned. FFAA, it adds language for physical exams for the band, UIL. We had talked about that before, and we even did that. No, we knew that rules was coming, and we did it a year early. So we're ahead on that particular. FFB is where the threat assessment team's policy is housed that we have talked about on more than one occasion, as well as FFBA is where the trauma-informed care, our TBRI, that's the location for that training. FL, local, this is, again, part of the threat assessment team, and this is under student records, and so it allows, if a member is on the threat assessment team, and that can include not only police officers, but the fire parents, staff, this gives them the designation when they're serving in that capacity as a school official, so that they can have access and feel free to talk about information that normally would be restricted as under student records. GBAA, local, this allows for the suspension of public information requirements during a disaster. So if there's a disaster, some of those timelines of 10 days or those type things are, you're given a little more flexibility to handle those requests in a disaster. And then GKA, local, is similar to the firearms one, except the other one was employees, and this is for the public. That is the local policies that we have for tonight. Are there any questions?
Members, are there any questions? This does require adoption.
I move that the board add, revise, or delete local policies as recommended by TASB Policy Service and according to the instruction sheet for TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 114.
Motion made by Mrs. Davis. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Dr. Sanhi. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Thank you very much.
I will say this is over 950 pages. This is the largest one I've seen as far as updates.
I wonder if that'll be the record. We'll find out at some point. Yeah. With that being no further business, we are adjourned. Thank you very much for attending tonight.